والله يدعو إلى دار السلام ويهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Islam now is taking a leap step to the future. After 13 years of being oppressed, tortured, and sometimes killed, the followers of the Prophet ﷺ finally got the chance to travel to a new state, to a new city, to a new place where they could worship Allah Azza wa Jal freely and with the support of the brothers from that country. The Prophet ﷺ, through the last 3 years in Mecca, met men on the seasons of pilgrimage, on the markets of the Arabs, presented his case, recited the Quran. Some of them accepted Islam, some of them rejected it. But no one gave him the support and protection he needed. 2 years before his migration to Medina, he met 6 men from the tribe of Khazraj, from Yathrib, from Medina, who were convinced of what he said and embraced Islam on the spot. He sent with them Mus'ab ibn Umair, may Allah be pleased with him, who went to Medina and started to call the people of Medina. And he succeeded in his mission. The following year, on the 13th year, after the first revelation was given to the Prophet ﷺ, 73 men and 2 women came and gave the second pledge of allegiance to the Prophet ﷺ, inviting him to come and migrate to Medina. Now, it was a turning point. Soon afterwards, the Prophet ﷺ decided that his companions should migrate to Medina. And they went one by one. Among the very first to go, Abu Salama ibn Abd al-Asad, one of the great companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and his brother, who was breastfed with the Prophet ﷺ by the maid of Abu Lahab, Thuwayba. Also, Mus'ab ibn Umair, who went there before everyone else to prepare and pave the way. Ibn Maktoum, the blind man who the Prophet ﷺ was told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he should not have turned his face from this blind man trying to call the dignitaries of Quraysh, and instead he should have answered and attended the question of this blind man because he was a true believer of Allah. Umar ibn al-Khattab and so many others tried and went to migrate to Medina and succeeded. But many have failed. Many have failed because the pagans would prevent them, either by not allowing them to take their money. In one case, Suhaib al-Rumi, who was a slave and then was bought off and set free. Suhaib al-Rumi, may Allah be pleased with him, wanted to migrate to Medina. So he left. The pagans did not leave him alone. They followed him until when he was in the middle of the way, they told him that you cannot migrate. He told them, why can't I migrate? I am going to worship Allah freely and I'm fleeing your country. So what else do you want from me? They told him, we have to prevent you because you came to us as a beggar, a poor man. You did not have anything. And over the years, you managed to raise a fortune because he was a craftsman. He used to make swords and so on, a blacksmith or something of that kind. So he told them, after spreading all of his arrows that he had with him in his sack, O pagans of Mecca, you know that I am among the greatest of you in archery. If I shoot one of my arrows, I usually hit a bullseye. And by Allah, you come closer to me and I will shoot you with all the arrows that I have and then fight you with my sword until I die. But if you want to save me and yourself the trouble, I will tell you where I hid my money. You can go there and you can claim and take it, and I have no regret on that. Imagine when a slave, when a poor man, when a stranger works for so many years, and after saving this much amount of money, someone comes and takes it.
Unreasonable matter.
And you are from scratch to begin again. And what is the reason behind that? Just because you simply came to us out of arrogance. You came to us poor and now you want to go rich? No, this is not possible.
I think in these days, freeze the money of the Muslims in Sudan, in Palestine, in Iraq.
This is again a political issue where the non-Muslims utilize their sources to harm the Muslims in any which way they can. For example, Hamas, they have frozen their accounts worldwide, but to their surprise, they did not have that much accounts because all of what they had was invested in Palestine to the Palestinian people. Also, what we hear nowadays, whenever someone is in the position of opposing the superpowers or the Europeans or so on, they use this method with him. They freeze his assets. And to tell you the truth, I think that the Muslims deserve what they get. Why do you invest, why do you put your money in their banks?
Yes.
As long as you don't have anything to fear. But usually the tyrants and those who embezzle and those who steal from the treasuries of their countries take these money and hide it in Swiss banks so that one day if they had to flee and go away and run from their crimes, they would have a place safe for them to stay. Suhaib al-Rumi showed them where his money was. And they left him and he went to Medina. The minute he reached Medina, the Prophet ﷺ, because he traveled and migrated after the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet told him, you have succeeded in your trade, Aba Yahya. Suhaib, whose name was Aba Yahya. He told him that it was indeed a successful transaction because you gave them this worldly money, but you've gained your freedom and you made your migration, which meant that the price he paid was everything that he ever owned in his life.
This is a successful trade with Allah.
Of course, he was trading with Allah because he migrated and left everything. So the first thing they tried is to block the money and prevent them from taking their money, the pagans. The second thing was trying to stop them from taking their wives and children. In this, exactly what happened with Salama and Abu Salama, may Allah be pleased with them both. Salama bint Abi Umayyah wanted to migrate with her husband. When the husband went, she wanted to go. She was faced with the family of her husband and her own family, Al-Mughira. And each one of them prevented her from going. For her family, the tribe of Al-Mughira, they said, we cannot allow you to go and follow your husband. You stay with us. And she had a small child with her. The family of the husband, the family of Abi Salama, said that, well, if she cannot go, then the boy stays with us, because the boy has to go with his father, and we will not keep him with you and your tribe. And they started pulling the boy until the boy's arm was dislocated. He was a child, and they took the child away from her husband's family. And she spent months, every single day. She goes to the border of Mecca from morning time until the evening, crying until sunset, and going back, because she was deprived of her husband. She cannot follow him, and she was deprived of her child, until she was met by Uthman ibn Talha al-Shaybi, who saw her once, and she, or the family, her family, felt sorry for her before that. And they said, well, okay, after seeing the situation you have reached, seeing your crying and tears and weeping, they felt soft for her. They told her, you may leave and follow your husband. And when the family of her husband saw this, they gave her back her child and told her, okay, then if you are allowed to go and follow your husband, then you may take your son. So she took a camel, and she rode on the camel with her son, and went outside of Mecca. She did not know the road, and she was on her own, a female with a child traveling at this distance. It could have taken them 2 or 3 days. That was too much. So one of the dignitaries and noble people of Mecca saw her, and he was Uthman ibn Talha al-Shaybi, one of the people that the Prophet ﷺ gave the key of the Kaaba to. So he told her, where are you going, O daughter of Abi Umayyah? She told him, I'm going to follow my husband in Medina. He looked at her and said, on your own? This is something that cannot be accepted. And he guided her to Medina. She is telling us, by Allah, I have never seen a companion more honorable than him. He never talked to me, and he never looked at me. And whenever we wanted to rest, he would do something with the camel so that it would go on down and sit on its 4 feet, and then he would retreat and give his back to me and ask me to dismount. And whenever I dismounted, he used to go and take the saddle off the camel, feed it, water it, take care of it, while I am away from him.
Also, he was non-Muslim?
He was not a Muslim, but I'm going to continue, inshallah, just after the break.
If you're 18 or if you're 80, if you've been Muslim for 50 years or 5 minutes, this is a show for you. You know, when 5 times a day our foreheads touch the ground in prayer, we beg for what's most important in our lives. We want to be good people, better Muslims. We want to serve Allah Almighty with all our hearts. In this show, Let's Talk, every week we're going to talk about Islam and life, how to relate with other people and how to serve Allah. We'll have studio guests, we'll have a live studio audience, there'll be an email for you to write to, talk@huda.tv. So if you're looking for something different, looking for something that will make you think, maybe even touch your heart, this is the show for you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. exactly as you've mentioned, Uthman ibn Talha ibn Abi Talha was not a Muslim. Yet he was an Arab, which meant that he had the pride in him, that he had the jealousy in him, that he had the generosity and bravery to do whatever a gallant man would do. He took Salama and her child to Medina, and just as he was at the outskirts of Medina, he told her, "There is your husband's house," and he left her and went back to Mecca. Who would do such a brave and courageous thing like this? By the way, Uthman ibn Talha ibn Abi Talha was or became a Muslim afterwards on the day of Fath, the conqueror of Mecca, and the Prophet ﷺ gave him the key to the Kaaba.